So guys, welcome to BID Nation. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, that is pledging. And the way I see it is that there are two very important aspects of pledging. One is the conceptual understanding of what pledging is all about, right? And the second is the mechanism of doing pledging through your broker. So in this video, we will focus on the first part, that is the conceptual understanding of pledging, and in the subsequent videos we will talk about how you can pledge your shares through Zerodha or Upstox or any other broker out there, right? Now pledging can be a little complicated topic, so we thought let's make it a little bit more fun by making it more of a conversation between two friends. So I hope that you guys will like our approach. All right, so let's get started. Srinivas has invested 10 lakh rupees in the stock market, some of them in mutual funds, some of them in stocks, and some in ETFs. But because he has invested most of his money, he doesn't have any left for trading purposes. So one day his friend suggests him that, okay, why don't you pledge your investments to get the money that you need? Because I have pledged my shares and now I'm earning in two ways. First is the long-term growth of the investment itself, and second is the short-term returns that I'm generating from trading. So Srinivas says, okay, that sounds good, but what is pledging? I mean, are you saying that I have to sell my shares to get the money for trading? No, you're not selling the shares, said the friend. When you are pledging, you are essentially loaning your shares to your broker, and in return, the broker gives you what is called as a collateral margin, which is basically money that you can use for trading purposes. And it is actually a very straightforward process because most of the brokers nowadays, they have an online system for pledging and the whole process can be done within a couple of days. So Srinivas was intrigued. He said, okay, that sounds good. How much money will I get for trading, right? So in my case, I have 10 lakh rupees worth of investment. So will I get 10 lakh rupees for trading? So his friend says, okay, you will get most of what you have invested as collateral margin, but brokers usually like to play safe and they give a little less margin than your investment's current value, right? And in their language, it is called haircut percentage. So if the haircut percentage is 10%, you will get a collateral margin of 90%, right? So for an investment of 1 lakh rupees, for example, you will get a margin of 90,000 rupees. And of course, the higher the safety of the investment, the lower is the haircut. And the other thing to keep in mind is that not every investment can be pledged. So while most of the investments such as stocks, ETFs, sovereign gold bonds, and active mutual funds can be pledged, there are some investments such as passive mutual funds or certain debt funds that are not accepted as collateral, right? So what I will recommend is that you should check with your broker, either on their website or just call them to see, first of all, what is the haircut percentage for each of the investment that you hold. And secondly, which investments are eligible for pledging purpose. Srinivas says, okay, that makes perfect sense. Now tell me this, what happens to the shares that I pledge? Do they get transferred from my account to the broker's account? Well, that was the old process. Nowadays, SEBI, our stock market regulator, has made the process much more streamlined, right? So now what happens nowadays is that your shares never leave your demat account. Right? So they always stay in your demat account, but if you pledge them, they will be locked, right? So basically what that means is that you cannot sell your shares until you unpledge them. Okay, that sounds good. Now, what about the dividends? Do I still get that, or will the dividends be now given to the broker? Well, see, as I said earlier, right? So the shares are not leaving your demat account. So what that means is that you will still keep getting your dividends directly in your bank account. So there is nothing to worry about that. Okay, this is all sounding good. Now tell me the cost, right? How much will the broker charge for all this? Do they charge any interest on the money that they are loaning? Well, they are not lending you any money, right? So it's not like they are giving you money to do something. They are basically giving you just margin to trade. So there is no interest as such that you have to pay on that margin, right? But they do charge a nominal fees of about 30 to 40 rupees on each pledging request. And it's again a very small amount. It doesn't matter whether you are pledging 1,000 shares or 10,000 shares. So you basically pay some 30, 40 rupees for that. But here's the thing. If you take trades where margin required is greater than the collateral margin you got, then the broker will charge you a delayed payment on the margin shortfall, right? So it's very important for you to make sure that you only trade within your limits and you should never exceed the margin that you got from pledging. Okay, Srinivas said, okay, it makes sense, but it sounds like the broker is not benefiting from this whole pledging process. I mean, it's just me as a trader, I'm using their money. So why do these brokers allow this pledging? I mean, is there any hidden agenda behind that? Well, great question. So even though the brokers are not directly making any money from pledging, they do make money when you trade from their account, right? So that is the main incentive for these brokers to give this pledging facility. All right, so that sounds exciting. That sounds great. So just tell me, what can I do with this margin? Are there any restrictions with what I can trade and I cannot trade with this money? So the friend said, okay, you can use the collateral margin for trading stocks on an intraday basis, and you can also use that collateral margin for selling futures and options. But you cannot buy options through this collateral margin. So that is the one important thing that you need to keep in mind. Also, there are some restrictions on how much collateral that you can use for holding overnight positions. So you should definitely check your broker about that as well. So guys, that was the basic concept of pledging that I wanted to explain in this video. In subsequent videos, we will talk about the mechanism of pledging through different brokers.